Welcome, welcome, welcome to the ZodyacStar Podcast. We appreciate everybody who's present here with us today on this lovely, rainy, and shadowy day. Hint, hint. That's going to be our topic, the shadow side, or shadow work, whatever you want to call it. The hidden or repressed aspects of the soul, our dark side. Okay, let me stop. Hmm. So, with shadow work, I know that's a term that's thrown around a lot, and there are some that are explaining it for the newbies out there. But essentially, it's the part of you that is not integrated into your character that you share. It's the parts that you suppress, that you hide for whatever reason. The reasons can be mirrored. But the foundational root of that is the opposite of divine love and authenticity. It's fear, fear of rejection, fear of not being acknowledged, fear of not being seen, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being denied the right to simply be who you are. Yeah. And we kind of were led to this because of a lovely movie that we just saw called Thunderbolts. Now, Zoe encouraged me to watch Thunderbolts, and I'm thinking it's the one with the two homegirls that got superhero powers and were fighting folks. I'm like, I already seen Thunderbolts. He's like, no, it's a new one that came out. You gotta watch it. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, holy shit! like, we all have a dark side, right? We all have a dark side, or for the others that are pretty much looked at as saints, we all have a dark side, or for those that live in their darkness, they all have a light side. So it's just, that shadow is the opposite of those suppressed sides of us that we refuse to let out. But if you have not seen Thunderbolts, I would highly recommend going to watch it and then come back and listen to this podcast again. But yeah, let's go ahead and go into it, Zoe.
Yeah. The um Thunderbolts is a very interesting perspective of seeing that shadow side, right? Um yeah, I think I should say spoiler alert. Yep, if you haven't seen it, stop. Stop this right now. Um Go see it, then come back. Because it's a lot of things in there that is shown in a way that is very spiritual, especially in the spiritual journey. It's shown in a way that makes sense. Um, especially from the start of the movie, right? The start of a movie of, always being in our heads, finding ourselves, kind of like on the cliff, right? Um,
Mhm.
in our heads on the cliff and kind of wanting to jump if you find yourself in your shadows and dealing with stuff because it's very upfront in your face, right? It's very in your face, and the Thunderbolts movie is for those going through tough times, right? We're so used to seeing the superhero so used to seeing everything work out, so used to seeing everything showing up in, the most best way, or as in, some can say saving, right? Um, but the Thunderbolts is, what about the other side? There's always two sides of the coin. What about that other side? What about the ones that goes through and feels like nothing ever goes their way? The ones that feels like it's always something stopping them, blocking them, that feels like they don't fit in, that's always something happening, always being blocked, always getting interrupted, always overlooked. They may mean good and stand for good, but it's those individuals that are fighting themselves. There's even a part of the movie that they mention the void, which is exactly a great word for those that are dealing with the void. Is that emptiness inside. The emptiness is like a hole in our chest, right? That a lot of things, people or whatever can't touch, but it's our responsibility to go fix that ourselves. And sometimes facing ourselves ends up looking like beating ourselves up when it's right in front of your face.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
like, this is a way in this episode, this channel, such so forth and so forth, is a way to bring that to the forefront. We talked about emotions, which is, can be tied hand in hand with the void, how you
Mm-hmm.
feel and deal with that. We gave you the tools, but it's not just tools to say you have a bad day and you want to transmute it. Those are tools to help you to go deeper within yourselves
Mm-hmm.
and face those voids. It can look in so many different ways that we end up shrinking ourselves in various forms. And one of those forms we mentioned, somebody having control of your emotions, but it doesn't stop there. Somebody can also have control over your voice. Somebody also
Mm-hmm.
can have control over your actions. What make you used to do certain things, now you don't do them anymore. What makes you
Mm-hmm.
used to say this or, behave this way or think this way or show up in certain ways are all suppressed because of not facing those shadows. And then when you try to face those shadows, or where it comes up where there is a point where you can confront it head on,
Mm-hmm.
you end up beating yourself up and you end up, you know, needing reminders of who you are. Because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
those voids can completely consume us. And then
Mm.
we have to find our way out. And a lot of times they can look like, because they can look like, let me finish that first. They can look like receiving help from, the simulations, or receiving help from other perspectives or other people, other. Sometimes you need that support that show that even though we are alone in this simulation, but coexisting with other beings in this situation that's in their own world and you in your own world, and we coexist, and to overlap can be through agreements, like, yeah, I'm over here and I'm out in my own room and all of this stuff, but yeah, I agree to work with you here, I got your back, you got my back, type of thing. But with this movie, it has shown a lot, so if you haven't seen it, there's multiple characters, and they play from the perspective. If you ever seen any of the Marvel movies, it plays from the perspective of Black Widow's sister. It starts with her, and the very first sentence is going right in. The energy is already there from the first two words, and
Mm-hmm.
she's on the edge of this building, and she do what a lot of us want to do, is jump off a cliff. Like we hear that a lot, of just like, I just want to jump off the cliff, right? Just want to end it all. But sometimes jumping off the cliff can be an illusion, right?
Mm.
You think you want to end it all, you jumping off the cliff, but really it's you just saying you bored. It's you saying,
I need to feel
I'm tired.
something.
I need to feel something. I need to feel some excitement. And those are
Uh-huh.
moments, even through those darkness, that you want to kind of like give yourself a back
Yeah.
into something, right? But it ends up her trying to find her way just like anybody else. It goes to her dad that's, missing being acknowledged. Now he
Mm.
feels nobody sees him. It can go
Mm-hmm.
into, if you ever seen Becky and the Winter Soldier and Falcon series in Disney.
Mm.
There used to be, if you've seen that, then there's a person that was supposed to be the next Captain America before Falcon became Captain America. And he ended up doing something that wasn't uh what to say, patriot like, or in good,
Patriotic.
yeah, patriotic, or in good terms. End up doing something that made him look bad, and it end up costing him being Captain America. And now he's like remembering he felt like he was somebody, and now he don't feel like he's anybody. And then other numerous and numerous and numerous. But there's an interesting person in there by the name of Bob, right? And like I said, you still listening, you ain't seen that movie, you better stop. I'm going in. Bob is probably like it's most of us, right? And Bob is more powerful than he even knows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he doesn't know that yet. And he's the one that seems like he's going through the worst, and he has certain abilities through a certain touch. He can just, connect fingers with you, and next thing you know, he's showing you the core of
Your
your shadows,
darkest.
or your darkest, secrets, or your darkest emotions. He exposes them to you, and sometimes you're not ready to prepare for it. And there's a part in there where he's talking to Black Widow's sister. I can't remember her name for nothing. But he's talking to Black Widow's sister, and he asks, which is like, oh my gosh, I knew it was gonna be something when this, and this is kind of near the beginning at this point of the scene I'm talking about. He asks, like, they came up, and this is where void, the word void, was introduced. Like, it feels like you got something deep inside, and it feels like and then he said void, and she was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Then he was like, what do you do with yours? And she answered it in a way that 9.9
Most
times out of
people.
10
Yep.
always answer it. And that is, we just suppress it way down, just push it down,
Just
suppress it.
push
We
it
don't want to deal
down.
with it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with it. And, but she ends up near the end of the movie when they have another conversation saying that you can't suppress it down. Eventually, you have to face it.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it's going to come up. It's going to come up out of your emotions, out of what you say, out of what you do, out of how you feel. It's going to come up to face it. And as they are trying to find, they end up working themselves out with the team. And the team, they don't even want to be a team. They just saying, we got to work together to get out of here, because obviously we're here for each other, but not in that
Mm-hmm.
way. We're here. I'm trying to take you out, and you trying to take,
Yeah.
but we got to work together before we all get taken out because somebody else is trying
Mm-hmm.
to do this, whatever. So, with this, it just sparks a lot of things in this movie. And Bob, near the end of the movie, because I'm not trying to tell all of it, but just certain points to start the conversation. Bob ends up finding out how powerful he is by becoming one of the most Marvel powerfulest characters, which is, the name is Sentry. If you know who Sentry is, a lot of people don't know who Sentry is, but you can look it up or whatever. And there was an interesting thing once he realized who he was, and he was awakened to his full potential and his full ability. The interesting perspective about it, that even though it's still there and he's good and he's this and he's still trying to figure himself out, even at his fullest form and awakened and all his powers and knowing who he is, he still haven't faced that void yet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many times we can try to just get to a certain point in life to understand who he is, awaken and this and that and all that third, and feel good about ourselves, feel important, or whatever our goal is to get to. But oftentimes we do that without facing that void. And no matter what you do, that void is going to confront you, period. So with that, he asked a question because she told us Sentry is, all the Avengers is more powerful and strong than all the Avengers combined, right? And he took that information and said, well, she wanted Sentry to get rid of the Thunderbolts, right? Like destroy him, right? At this point. And he came to after he fought against them, he beat them all, and he's kind of like, boom, he didn't feel that they're not a threat to me. That, why do you want
Mm-hmm.
me to destroy them? And she was like,
Yeah.
why? Because I told you to. And how many times we are found in situations of somebody trying to suppress us, especially when they see who we really are, because
Mm-hmm.
we're oftentimes in a position of trying to be controlled. If that's by a family member, if that's by a work environment, if that's by
Mm,
a spouse, if that's by a sister, a brother, a best friend, it's always
mm,
somebody trying to manipulate control over you to make you do what is beneficial and favor to them.
mm-hmm.
Even though they know who you are, they want to use you towards their benefit, right? And it's up to you to stop it because nobody can make you do
That's
anything
yep.
but you, right?
So that's where them boundaries come in. So especially for those who are awakening to their spiritual gifts, right? Their X-Men gifts. You'll have a lot of people that try to suppress you or control you by saying, "Oh, don't now for your safety, obviously, don't be putting your shit out here to where you have alphabet groups coming after you for your gifts, right? Because they're going to try to use you. But at the same token, you got a lot of people in the spiritual community who also try to use you for your gifts and not appreciate them or compensate you properly or appropriately for them or use it for their own good, all the while they're still suppressing you because they don't want you to come into your full power. Now, yes,
Mhm.
there are people that can guide you on how to properly harness your gifts because, of course, with great gifts come great responsibility. And you have to be mindful of how you use your gifts, supposedly for the uplifting of yourself and others. But there are some who are not going to use it for that. That's their prerogative. But my whole point is for those who are newly acknowledging and appreciating their spiritual gifts, just make sure you protect it and keep it sacred. Make sure you find someone that can assist you in how to properly utilize or harness it. And if you can't find anybody here, tap into your cosmic and galactic family. Tap into our higher vibrational beings or your highest self to teach you how to properly utilize your gifts. Because if not, you're going to be taken advantage of. You're going to be used until you can't be used no more, especially if you don't know how to say no, especially if you don't know how to set up your boundaries, especially if you don't know how to acknowledge that, yes, you are powerful, but at the same time, you're a baby in your power. You have to balance that ego because with that strength and that ability, you're like, oh shit, I can do X, Y, Z. Oh, the fuck, let me blow up some shit real quick. And then you're like, okay, now you going too far because now you're hurting people unnecessarily, right? So you have to balance that. Know your power, know your strength, know the God that is within you, but also I'm not going to say be humble because that means to belittle and shrink yourself. And too many people have done that in our lives, which is why we're battling oppression of our shadow side in the first place, right? Um, but balance it, balance it with grace, balance it with justice, balance it with righteousness, balance it with truth and clarity, but still stand in that power. And it's funny because we're talking about Bob, which is short for Robert. I don't know how they got Bob out of Robert, but it's, yeah. Robert, the name Robert means bright fame, Fame, right? But in the movie, he is portrayed as somebody that's really deeply tied to his shadow side, to the depression, to the oppression, to the trauma that he experienced in his life. Like, he is deeply embedded in it. And when you're stuck there, that's an imbalance. And Robert, numerologically, comes up to the number six. And six is supposed to be a number that represents a balance and a harmony. But he's kind of imbalanced because he's too stuck in his shadow side. And then the superhero named Sentry, when you look at the etymological meaning of that goddamn word, that means to feel sincerely. And so, as Bob, he was deeply feeling his suppressed and his dark side, his shadow side. And even in his power, once he knew his great power, he was still feeling that, but there came a wisdom with it. As Zoe was saying, he mentioned, why do you want me to destroy? They're not a threat to me. You just want me to go over to prove what? What point are you trying to prove? What point are you trying to prove? And most people that are truly powerful, that truly have an impact on people, they're not out here boasting. They're not out here throwing their gifts and powers around trying to show, hey, I can do this to you. I can do that to you. I can do blah, 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 blah. No. Those that are the most powerful, they stand by themselves. They're often by themselves. They're doing powerful work under the radar. They're not out here on social media saying, oh, I can do this. You guys need to come to me. No, because those that need them are naturally drawn to them. Those that need to be guided by them are naturally pulled to them. Their work speaks for itself. They don't have to sit here and boast about what they can and they cannot do. They're not out here boasting about all of the magnificent things they're doing. That's why in the scriptures it say, you don't let your right hand know what your left hand doing. If you're going to do good work, do good work. You don't need an audience for that. Those that are on the receiving end, if they choose to share what great thing you've done for them, then hey, they're going to share it. But most of the people that are in power and know their power and comprehend the significance and the intensity of their power, they just stand in their light. They're just simply living and they're simply being. And that's all Bob wanted to do, was simply be, after he knew what his power and his strength was as he was turned into sentient. He's like, I just need to be. I don't need to go out here and destroy everybody else. Ooh, look at my rep falling. Oh my gosh. But yeah, he's simply be, right? That's spirit
Yep.
speaking. Yeah, just simply be. Uh-huh.
Yep.
I don't need to sit out here and destroy everything because I can. For what? For what? When you know who the fuck you are, you just chill. Like, most stuff don't phase you anymore. You observe, you chill, you relax, you breathe, you ground, and you simply be. And in that being, your light becomes that bright fame that Bob represented in the movie Thunderbolts. There's a part in the movie where they tried to kill him because he wouldn't listen to what they were saying. And that ultimately triggered his complete shadow side, just the complete opposite, where all his power resided. Because a lot of people, you know, in this movement, they talk about, being in the light all the time. And one of my wise sisters, she explained to me, she's like, no, you're made to be balanced. You're not supposed to be all light. You're not supposed to be all dark. You're supposed to be balanced. When you need to be in the dark, you go there. Make sure it's justified, but you go there to take care of what needs to be taken care of. And then you center yourself. Shine your light. Be in that light. Do good to others. Be righteousness. Be the pleroma here on earth, embodied in the crystalline vessel, but still be balanced. And so when he went to his completely dark side, it engulfed not only him, but everything in the vicinity of him. It just pulled up all nothing but darkness. And that's why you hear a lot of people that are in the metaphysical realm or the esoteric realm. They say sometimes that dark power, because a lot of your power comes from that dark side, which is related to your divine feminine energy. That is some powerful shit. And once you go there, some people don't know how to come back. So in the movie, you'll see once he went to that complete darkness, his newly found teammates, the Thunderbolts, as the father so politely named, they went to go help him in his darkness. And so when Zoe was speaking earlier about people being there to help you in your shadow, you're not there alone. Sometimes you do need to take time out by yourself to deal with it, but also know that there are individuals, there are lights there to help guide you back to center yourself. Because a lot of people know, I don't really know how to deal with my shadow. Well, allow yourself to feel. That's what being sentient means. Being sentry. Allow yourself to feel. But to also find out what your shadow side or indicators are those individuals that trigger you or situations that trigger you. Triggers help you to know what's in your shadow, what you need to heal, what you need to deal with, what you need to balance. Those triggers help to cut the light on in your shadow realm so that you can see. Sometimes we like chilling in the dark because it's comfortable at times for some people. Not all, but for some. There's a lot of transmutation that happens when you sit in the dark. And that's actually one of the unconventional ways to work on your shadow is to sit in complete darkness. Without light, without music, without distraction. You have some people that say light is blinding, right? So if it's blinding, then it can also be deceiving. So sit in darkness. Sit in your darkness, not just physical darkness, but in your darkness, and allow yourself to process through those emotions that you feel, those thoughts that come up, which is what his teammates did in the movie at that point. They helped him to process through his darkness. Because ignoring it and suppressing it is only going to make it deeper and more powerful. And then it overtakes you and makes you go too far in balance to one side or the other. Because at the end of the movie, after he came out of his darkness, he was still regular old Bob, but he couldn't access the strength that he had as that shadow self or as Sentry because he chose to completely get rid of the shadow side. So you can't do that either. You can't just ignore your suppressed parts because that keeps you off balance. You can't maintain equilibrium internally, let alone externally, because you know your world around you is just a reflection of what's going on the inside. So you can't ignore your dark side. You can't ignore the beast within, the monster that's within you, those dark thoughts that you have intermittently throughout your day. Because if you do, they're only going to get louder and louder until they start suppressing your light. Or if it's your light, then your dark is going to be suppressed, and vice versa, depending on whom you are and what you chose to play in this lifetime. Balance. And the only way to bring balance to your shadow is to accept it, acknowledge it, bring light to it, and allow it to be without judging yourself, without ignoring yourself, without denying yourself.
There's a interesting point um to bring back, when they can't control you, they find or try to find some way to take you out.
Mhm.
When they can't manipulate you, they try to find some way to terminate you. If you're not going to work with us, we refuse to give you the opportunity to work against us. Meaning, if you don't follow the herd, you don't follow what's been going on, the systems
Mhm.
that is built to suppress you, to wake up, to, in some cases, if it's make the rich richer or the poor poorer or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be,
Mhm.
we're going to get rid of you because they only want room for what makes them powerful. And, you
Mhm.
can say, oh, that's a shadow work. What's all this relates to? Well, when it comes down, because it's all about suppression and control. But the moment they tried to do that to him and he went full void mode, his world changed. The
Mhm.
world changed. Everybody in the world he can only see as darkness. He can only see as void. But he is also the reflection because everybody has some type of shadow or darkness to them that they're dealing with,
Mhm.
which is an interesting perspective because Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow's sister, was the only one who embraced it,
Yeah.
right? The only one that faced it. Everybody else is running, even the Thunderbolts is get out of here running for cover. But as Sentry or as the Void, it didn't matter where you go. You can hide in the buildings, you can hide under bridges. It don't matter. This world is turning dark. And if you're listening to the news and everything that's going on right now, as of May 29th, 2025, the world
Mhm.
looks dark right now. A lot of
Mhm.
fear, a lot of control, and a lot of shadows, a lot of worries, a lot of out of character movements, a lot of people hiding, a lot is going on. But once you embrace it, then you
Mhm.
realize one darkness is actually kind of very, very similar to the rooms of emotions that Star talked about. Then you realize that's actually connected to another void room and another void room. To realize,
Mhm.
yeah, damn, how many rooms of voids do I have? Because you've been suppressing everything that came your goddamn way.
Mhm.
But you know what's interesting though? Out of
What?
one of those rooms in the movie, she saw Bob. But wait a minute, this is her void. This is her darkness.
Mhm.
But she saw Bob, and Bob saw her. As he was in his world of darkness, he looked and seen her in her world of darkness.
Through a
And you
mirror.
know where she saw Bob? In the mirror, in the reflection.
Mhm.
She saw him and thought she can just bully and brush and push and just force her way through. She broke through the mirror just to end up in another room of
Of
void and
hers.
darkness of hers. You know what that means?
Mhm.
She was never going to get to Bob without Bob allowing her.
To come in.
Sometimes through shadows, through darkness, is not brute force to power through. It's the
Mhm.
opposite. Let's sit down and talk about this. I just want to talk and process and figure this out. How do
Mhm.
we do that? I just want to talk.
Yeah.
And Bob said, in his world, saying that she wants to talk from his void and shadow work to her void and shadow work. And she said, I just wanted to talk to you because she realized what had to happen. He said, okay. And then
Mhm.
guess what? Finds herself in the room, no force, no nothing. Now she's
Mhm.
in there with him,
Mhm.
sitting in a good space in one of which is his bedrooms, as he say,
Mm-hmm.
replaying something that bothered him over and over, saying, "Don't worry about it, it'll be over soon," shrinking himself,
Mm-hmm.
giving the smile that everybody gives. It's a smile
You
for
know,
like
that
a
fake
clown's
mask.
face, that fake
Mm-hmm.
mask, like it'll be fine, but you're
Yeah, I'm
not
good.
fine.
You're not.
And only certain people can see through that. And she
Yeah.
saw. And she corrected herself, going all the way back to say, "You remember when I say that, boy, we can just suppress it down and it'd be fine?" That was a lie. We
Mm-hmm.
can't keep suppressing it down, and we have to face it and we have to deal with it, and only we can make our way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they are in the agreement, think about it. Let me go further. Bob, divine masculine.
Mm-hmm.
Scarlett Johansson's sister, Black Widow's sister, divine feminine,
Mm-hmm.
balance, and a dark void together. Once that equal force came together, then guess what happened? Now
Shit
the
start
room
happening.
the room starts and your void really starts fighting you.
Mm-hmm. Because they want you to stay
Really
there.
it starts suppressing you, really starts trying to take a hold of you, and not just you, everybody in the goddamn room that's not in the agreement with that. When everything was fine and you were just sitting there, no problem, okay, I sit here, it was all calm, smooth, and collected.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute you decide to stay up, what the fuck you going? You know what I'm saying? Now here it is.
And
But then,
translate that to life, right?
yeah, yeah. Into life, it's like how many times things get in your way. How many
When
times you
you're
want to quit a
progressing.
job when or you want to do something different, right? When you want to do something different, like you can apply that to anything. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
all hell breaks loose. If you in
Mm-hmm.
school trying to better yourself, you go through all kinds of shit. You feel like quitting, you feel like giving up because what you're not realizing is you have a set normal day to day that you do. And now you're adding, usually subconsciously, you're not understanding that kind of maxes you out a little bit because you make full of your day subconsciously. You
Mm-hmm.
go to work, spend time with here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go shopping, I'm going to do all this. You're doing everything you want to. There's not a day where you don't utilize all of it in some type of capacity, even if it's just sitting there, that's still part of the goddamn day. But then when you actually try to apply something, you're trying to do everything that you were doing, that you're accustomed to doing, but now
Mm-hmm.
you're throwing on top of this, we can just say school because it's the easiest thing. And now you got schoolwork you got to do. You still got to go to work. You still got to be husband and wife. You still got to take care of the family. You still got to cook, clean. You still got to do this. You still got to pay the bills. You still got to do all of this shit
Mm-hmm.
on top of trying to do what makes it where you that's going to make it better, that you want
Mm-hmm.
to do, that you want to get into, if there's massage, if there's business, if there's accountant, if there's whatever you want to get into, nursing, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you want to get into it, you got to now utilize what you've been doing 24 hours in a day. And now you got to take 4 to 10 more extra hours and cram that into a 24-hour day, which is overwhelming. And now you're seeing this like, oh, I feel overwhelmed. And then this is where a lot of triggers can happen, because then if
Mm-hmm.
you're so used to being suppressed, or you're not used to being able to speak your truth, speak your voice, this is where you feel that nobody's going to be able to understand what you're saying, so you don't speak. If you're
Mm-hmm.
used to being hard on yourself, now you're hard on yourself because now maybe all this stress may get you to start eating some more, or not eating, or sleeping less, or whatever the case may be. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're battling that, and it just feels like everything is getting in your way. You know what I'm saying? So you have to remember the focus point and the goal of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. You got to remember that. And you have to be brave enough to face all the challenges that comes through, because you are trying to get back in balance, because you're already out of balance. God damn it. You might as well, you know what I'm saying, to do something different, get in balance. But now once you face that, sometimes you may need a little help. which is, it could be something that's listening to us in this channel to kind of give you this perspective that may give you a helping edge. This can be,
Mhm.
a helping ear, helping ear. It can be, talking or having a mentor. It can be talking to somebody that's been through it. It can be talking to somebody that can just listen to you, or it can be
Mhm.
doing something that you wasn't planning on doing. Maybe exercise more, or whatever the case may be, to try to offset and transmute and be with that energy, even if it's meditation, to be able to sit in that in darkness to understand what you need to do, right? And at this point, going back to the movie, when they start doing this and more people start embracing, because they had to go through their own. Now all of a sudden, the rest of the Thunderbolts comes into this room to
Mhm.
help battle it. And now, what person that you thought you were just by yourself ended up being one more person that's there with you, that's willing to help sit with you.
Mhm.
End up being a whole
Yep.
goddamn team that's saying, "All right, motherfucker, we
Mhm.
getting out of this goddamn shit. You made me come in to deal with this shit. Now I'm about to deal with your ass if we don't deal with this shit. Once something's getting dealt, right?" So out of that, now, which is what I like to say in the shadow work, is different perspectives. Sometimes in the shadow, you can only think of one way. Sometimes it may be difficult to see any other ways. But with these simulations and everything that people coming in, they can give you a different way, or give you the strength to dig deep inside of you to
Mhm.
say what, Black Widow sister said. You said there's multiple rooms. Take us to the worst.
Mhm.
Now, because you may not felt as strong to deal with the worst room. How many rooms you got that you don't want to sit with, that you just suppress? Take us to the worst one, because if we can deal with the worst one and help you deal with
Everything
the
else
worst
should
one,
be easier. Yep.
domino effect, right?
Mhm.
But in order to get to the worst one, they got to get through all this other bullshit to get down to it. And what's that, resemblance of? That can resemble, you know, the conversations, how well you're willing to expose or share those darkest secrets. You might only feel comfortable sharing at this level, and then you may go down to this level of sharing, and then you may say, "Well, I could talk a little bit more, a little bit more," right?
Mhm.
Until you feel comforted, or until you have the
Safe enough.
courage, you're sane enough to really, like, okay, now let me really talk about this shit, right? So as
Mhm.
they go to the dark room, it was a room that was very similar. Remember at the beginning of the movie I was talking about? She jumped off the cliff, maybe you're bored, whatever. At the beginning of the movie, this is the same room that Black Widow's sister saw as her mission in the beginning of the movie. It's the same room. It's like, oh, it's in this room. I know about this room because I blew it out.
Mhm.
So, but not knowing what was waiting on them was the void itself. The purest, coldest void sitting there waiting on them to arrive. And once they got there, they're talking. He's like, this is where it all happened. This is when, everything changed. This is when they experimented on me, because I wanted to be somebody important. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be recognized, acknowledged. I wanted to be stronger than I thought I was. I wanted more
I wanted to
courage.
live up to my name.
I want to live up to my name. I wanted to do all of this stuff to be the best that I can be. And how many
Mhm.
times we come across something where, I mean, look at the world. Look how many fucking BBLs there is. Nobody wants to be them. Nobody wants to fucking be who they fucking are. Here they go in the goddamn, because it was like an operation room. Let's really talk about this shit. How many of y'all motherfucking want to change your goddamn nose? You want to, change it, you get your grill done, add titties, whatever. Look, everybody is trying to be something that they're not, and they want to create the image versus understanding the person you are to fucking day. I said it, to fucking day, right? The person
Mhm.
you are to fucking day is who you created for in the first place. You agreed to the
Mhm.
shit. How you gonna come down here and change your mind after you agreed to it up there? I
Mhm.
digress. Fuck it. So at the end of the day, everybody had their emotions, whatever the case may be.
And
They saw
I
him.
think it's people looking for perfection outside versus
Oh,
working
that
on the inside,
that's because
dealing
they're
with their
looking for
shadow. So
validation. hmm They want
dealing with their
validation from
shadow and
outside.
that full
That's part of the shadow.
self-acceptance. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
self-acceptance. Accept who you are. Everybody does it. Well, a lot of people don't want to accept who they are. I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
But he's on this table, not knowing that it was a freeze, like a freeze moment. You thought it was a freeze moment with the sentry and like two doctors or operators, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
knowing it was actually him. He was listening and shit. His back was turned. It was kind of like this. And it's like, and here we are. Like, oh, this motherfucker moves, right? So they thought it was a still frame until the motherfucker started talking back. And it was like, oh, shit, this
Mm-hmm.
motherfucker's we were seeing him out there. Now he's in this motherfucker, right? So what ends up happening at this point of perspective is it was time to face yourself. You
Mm.
can have help. You can have people that can walk you through it to do that. But
You still
at
gotta face
some
yourself.
point, you have to face yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
nobody can help you in that fight to a certain degree,
Yep.
right? You still have to lead the charge. You still have to do it. You still have to operate as like, I'ma handle this shit. That has to be the
Mm-hmm.
mentality. Because then what he ended up doing, the void, ends up pinning and blocking and all this shit, his whole team, whereas one on one, me and you.
Mm-hmm.
And what that void wanted him to do is fucking lose control again. We want to
And
go deeper.
fight
Fight,
and
beat
fight. And the
yourself up
more he fought, the more he was getting engulfed by the shadow. See, you're
again.
not supposed to fight your dark side or your demons or your whatever it is you're supposed to embrace it. So the more he fought, the more it consumed him. And he didn't
hmm
even realize he was being consumed because he was so enraged and frustrated with that oppressed side of him and the strength and the power that oppressed side of him had that he just kept pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and wasn't getting anywhere.
No. Was losing himself on a whole nother,
Another
even
level.
deeper level. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? On a
Yeah.
deeper level. But he, facing himself, was getting consumed. But once again, throughout the whole movie, Black Widow's sister was like, you can trust me, Bob. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Divine Feminine. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, because Divine Feminine, what you say earlier? You know, the that darkness is,
Mm-hmm.
extension of the Divine Feminine. And
Yeah.
somehow her dad, masculine, got her free because they were pent together. He made room and separation from what they was pent in enough for her to slip out. And at
Mm-hmm.
that point, he saw Bob, and the more he was fighting and anger and rage and frustration and all of this stuff, and like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, we beat ourselves up in the mirror. Some of us don't even look in the goddamn mirror, right? We just move. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Out of all of this shit, like, if you do, it's a real quick whisper, you, and then you gone or something like that, right? So and it's like, damn, fucking stop. I mean, some people. Okay, so I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, goddamn it. Well, there's another
But
hole. Well, wherever. Like, I need to stop.
mm-hmm.
So, right. So eventually, as she looks at Bob, she realizes he's getting further and further and further away into a
Mm-hmm.
separation that, you look and it's like, look, that keeps going. I'm not going to make it. Right. Because he's getting
Mm-hmm.
engulfed. But she decided, and this is where a lot of people, your close friends, somebody that really fucking got your back, right? That really
Mm-hmm.
got you. She, sometimes you may take them through the ring. You may take them through some shit, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how you know if they really stand with you or not. All right. So she's
Because they're
flipping
still
over
gonna
the
be there,
tables. Boom, still gonna be there, flipping
dodging
over
shit.
here. You
Yeah,
frozen this shit, doing this,
doing the
cartwheeling,
whole
legs
Matrix
flat,
thing. Like, oh,
sliding, saying this no, and then going forward like, damn, how come you couldn't do that the whole thing? But whatever, and doing all that shit. And then she embraces him as he's being engulfed. And she said, I'm here, Bob. I got you.
mm-hmm.
You can let go now. Let go. Stop, Bob. Let
Mm-hmm.
go. See, that's a power within itself
Letting
because we've
go.
been
A
talking
lot of
about
people, yeah, don't let go.
don't let go.
Why? Because it's a semblance of power. Because the unknown is scarier than holding on to that anger, holding on to that betrayal, holding on to that fear, holding on to that frustration, that whatever it is that you're holding on to in your darkness, a lot of people don't want to let it go
Mm-mm.
because they
And if they
don't
let
know
go, they
who
pick it
they
back up.
are. Well, that too, but they don't know who they will become once they let it go. They no longer feel like they have control once they let it go. So a lot of people refuse to let things go because it gives them a sense of control. Oh, I get to control how angry and how I respond and blah, but you always can control how you respond and who you are. But you don't need to hold on to whatever it is that you're holding on to, whether it be a person or a situation that's causing you to sit in your shadow and be comfortable there. You can let that shit go. And yeah, becoming the new version of you, it's fucking scary because you just don't know. You've never experienced it in this timeline. So yes, that can cause anxiousness by itself,
Mhm.
the whole letting go part. But yeah, as she said, let go. You're
Let
safe.
go.
I got you.
Holding with love, holding his back. He's still pounding, but he feels her.
Mm-hmm.
He's still fighting, but he feels her. Because as he's fighting, his body may be punching, looking at the void, and the void's like, keep going, yeah.
Yeah.
He's loving it. But then you
Yeah.
see him, them tears start flowing. And what are tears? Cleansing,
Releasing.
release,
Or letting go, not
just
releasing.
creating, let
Letting go.
go, just creating, clearing
Mm-hmm.
of the soul, right? You're
Yeah.
letting go of what used to hurt you because we're so used to what's familiar that we're just, like Star says, simply afraid of what's unknown. And not knowing that nothing you do of your growth has been known to you. Your whole journey has
Mm-hmm.
fucking been unknown. When you came
Mm-hmm.
into this world, you know what I'm saying, through the
You
portal
forgot on
of
purpose,
time, you forgot and you didn't know where the
or
fuck
maybe
you
not
was.
on purpose.
You know, when you motherfucking, you went to the house that you grew up in, you didn't fucking know that at first. When you went outside, you didn't know where the fuck you was going. When you went to preschool, you didn't know where the fuck you was about to be dealt. When you went to elementary, you didn't know who you were around. When you went to middle school, you didn't know how fucking hard that was going to be and lose recess,
And naps.
naps, playtime, all that shit left. It's
Snacks.
been here, right? Right? But at the same time, when you went to high school, you didn't fucking know. When you got your first job, you didn't know. When you went off to college, you didn't know. When you got behind the
Mm-hmm.
driving wheel of a car traveling, you didn't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things, if you remember, you didn't know anything until you tried it to see if it fits well for you or not. Everything it is, when you become a parent, you didn't know. When you travel anywhere in the world, you don't know. Subconsciously, you don't know a goddamn thing. You never did. But at the same time, it made you who you are because you learned how to adapt and grow
And be
and
flexible.
learn. Be
Mm-hmm.
flexible and remember things about you that you didn't know. Maybe you
Yeah.
like traveling, you know, and on the road than you like flying. Maybe you like flying more than traveling on the road. Maybe you like
Mm-hmm.
trains. Maybe you don't like concerts like you do. Maybe you love concerts. Maybe you like
Mm-hmm.
Coachella. Maybe you like sports. Maybe, who knows? You are discovering. And in order for
Mm-hmm.
you to discover, you have to go in the unknown to discover or remember what it is for
Mm-hmm.
you to discover, remember. So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, why do we have so many problems? I don't know. You never did. You didn't know how to spell your damn name that they gave you. You had to learn what a fucking A or a Z or an M was.
Hmm.
There's always an unknown. So if you look at that, it's like, well, damn, I never did know shit. Well, I guess let me find out. Everything is mean. Let me find this motherfucker out, I guess. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? We have that
Let me
approach.
explore.
Let me
Let me,
explore.
yeah.
You didn't know you didn't like motherfucking bacon. I mean, I would like to meet that person. But you didn't know, right? But you didn't know you didn't, like peanut butter.
Yeah.
You didn't
Hmm.
know you was allergic to these things. You didn't know these things have an effect on you. You
Yeah. In
didn't
other words,
know.
you didn't come into this world with a manual about yourself. So your life, your experiences that you have teach you or are to teach you and to remind you about who you are or give you the opportunity to create who you want to be.
When you look at it that way, that's subconscious. But consciously, you want to just hold on to what's familiar because you don't like change. And
Mhm.
when shit starts changing and hit the fan, let me go back to what's familiar because I know what this shit gonna do. I don't know anything about that shit. Right?
And it's being that you said that, it's funny because not just yourself you got to fight against because your ego will try to keep you the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't like change. It says we're safe here. Let's stay right here, and let's continue to self sabotage or let's continue to oppress because we're safe right here. But as soon as you start going into that shadow work, you'll find that not only that you have your own self to battle with, your own thoughts, your own old train of thinking, the outside world, like he was mentioning in that room when they started talking and then the room just started throwing shit at them left and right. That's what happens on the outside. When you start to make those decisions to change, that's when the world just decides it wants to blow up around you. And you're like, oh shit. Look, for example, you decide to go on vacation so that you can rebalance your energy and clear your mind. Oh, that's when all shit starts to happen. Somebody dies. Somebody got in an accident. Money gets missing. The house burns down. You're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Bills
Because
increase.
they want you to stay the same, oppressed, depressed, suppressed. They want you to stay right where you are, and not just yourself you got to fight against, but this world too, because they feed off of that negative, low vibrational, fear inducing energy. So as
Mm-hmm.
soon as you try to make your change, and those of you on the spiritual journey who've been on here, you know it. That's when you know some shit about to happen. When all hell breaks loose, you're like, oh, I'm about to have another breakthrough. All right, what's coming up? What's coming up? What's coming up?
Yeah.
Because everything around me is going haywire. And I'm like, okay. So now that you have that understanding, don't be so hard on yourself and don't panic. Because that's what a lot of people do. They panic and then they say, you know what? I just should just stay the same and just continue doing what I'm doing because it seems to be calm and peaceful when that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you get ready to change and make your shifts, yeah,
Yeah.
they try to keep you right where you are.
This is where that that
Oh,
that
old
that
paradigms, old people, old
all
friends,
that.
old situations try to pull you back to where you are, and you have to be like, nah, that's not where I'm at right now.
Even relatives. Even
Yeah, that
relatives can do that.
they're included in the people.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying in general, how many times, just as
Your
an
own
example,
children,
people
your own
see
spouse,
you
your own
in a certain
parents.
way. Yeah, they see
Yeah.
you in a particular way, and how dare you change what they see? You know what I mean? Because they don't want to accept evolution because they don't know what that looks like themselves. So see you go through it, they think they're trying to protect you, and no, I'm here if you need my help. And no, I got this.
And the thing
Yes.
is, in order for you to go to other timelines or to evolve, you have to change. Change is inevitable. You can't stay the same and expect to experience something different. That's insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Where the hell does that
And
work
keep trying
at?
to do it.
Not in this paradigm.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And in order to change, you have to face the shadows. You have to face the dark
Mhm.
side of you that's holding you back. It's too many times, like I said before, earlier in this
Mhm.
episode, people trying to obtain and reach a certain area without working on themselves, without getting or making room for the capacity or to greater their capacity to handle what they're about to become or where they're about to go. There's too many
Mhm.
people wanting to just ignore shit and you can't, and you realize all you're doing, this is where it gets stronger. Oh, you're at a new level, then we can be this much stronger then. You know what I'm saying? And it's like
Mhm.
you have to embrace that, because even in your shadow work and being in that shadow and sitting in alone and dark, some people like to be not seen. It's easier to hide that way. And when you're
Mhm.
hiding and you're doing what, this world wants you to do, or what friends or, spouse or whatever the case may be, children, whether once
Mhm.
as long as you're doing what they want you to do, that's when it's the easiest time having no problems. But you're going through the most miserablest time because now you're shrinking your authentic self of who you are, trying to please. So at the
Yep.
end of the day, you have to choose. You either going to allow them to have power over your voice, over your actions, where you used to do this and now you changing because you don't want them to either see this way, or you don't want to show them that there's another way, or you're afraid to
Mhm.
shine your light, or you're afraid to feel a certain way, think a certain way, talk a certain way, feel a certain way.
Mhm.
If you got all of this here, you're either going to suppress it, even in a form, yes, you can ignore it and block it and all of this other stuff to keep your boundaries up. But at the same time, there's still another side of the coin, because even if they
Mhm.
don't change your emotions because you got strong boundaries, your thought because you don't have strong boundaries, they are going to find a way to try to do. And sometimes that can end up being your actions of not doing anything
Mhm.
and allowing them to have control over what you do, control over how you do something, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, I ain't got your emotions, I got your actions then. Okay, I ain't got your
Yeah.
actions, I got your speaking then. I got your
Mhm.
words. You're not going to do this, or you're not going to say or talk much because now you're putting a silence over here. It's multiple things of shadows that you got to protect, not just your feelings. You got to
Mhm.
protect your mind. You got to protect your body. You got to protect your words, your actions, everything about you. Somebody is
Mhm.
trying to control, and either you're going to stand your ground or you're going to allow them. Even if you don't think they're allowing, or it's not allowing. If there's somebody that is trying to get you to do certain things a certain way, or feel a certain way, or speak a certain way, or believe
Mhm.
a certain way, and something that you used to do, yes, you can change for evolution, but sometimes that change can be restrained because you used to do this and now you're doing this, which is less than,
Mhm.
right? You used
Mhm.
to be able to do here, now you don't feel comfortable. Now what you're trying to keep sacred can end up being a secret.
Mhm.
Two different things, very similar.
Mhm.
Keep what's sacred sacred. But at the same time, if you got your boundaries up, you got your team here, you got your motherfucking dragons, you got
Mhm.
everything, you're safe, you're secure, you everything, just because it's sacred doesn't mean it has to be secret.
Mhm.
Because they may not have access, and they don't have access. Especially if you're cloaked. They can't see you on a spiritual anyway. They can't see you
Mhm.
with anything anyway. They can't touch you,
Mhm.
because you operated at at a certain level that they can't fucking touch. They can't get to, no matter what they say, no matter what they do.
Mhm.
And sometimes we can confuse sacred for secret.
Mhm.
Don't allow secret to sneak in. Just keep it sacred. It's a difference. But it's ultimately, it's your choice. It's up to what you want to do with it. You either gonna allow the shit, and that's what it is, or
Mhm.
you're gonna stand in sacredness and let that be what it be, and let it be heard and understand. You shall not pass. God damn it. You know what I'm saying? Or what is it, Bad Boys 2? You are not welcome here. One of them
Yeah.
two, they can't fuck with you if you stand your ground. They're
Mhm.
only gonna do it if you allow them to. If you allow them to shrink you in any
Mhm.
capacity, action, word, emotion. I don't give a fuck what it is. If you allow them to do the
Mhm.
shit, It's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And then that ends up being a shadow over there because now you triggering other shit. Don't reverse any of that. Stand your ground. Stand on who you are. Period. Don't let anybody
Mm-hmm.
fuck with that. If it's I don't give a fuck what it is. If it's your sacred space, if it's family, whatever the fuck it
Mm-hmm.
is, whatever you holding strong, you have to hold it strong because now they gonna try to your shadow is gonna go through them. It's like, oh, we're gonna work through this person to get to you. I bet you
Mm-hmm.
we'll stop you or prevent you now. Let's see how
Mm-hmm.
you feel after we go through this person to get to you, or go through this situation to get to you, or go through that
Mm-hmm.
individual to get to you. Okay, you used to do this. Okay, now let's see if you do it again. You used to say this. Okay, let's see if you say it again. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You used to, if it's work or whatever. So we're constantly fighting, but we have to learn how to embrace and move forward from there.
Yeah.
Don't confuse sacredness with secretive.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
And on that note, if you want to grab a pen and a piece of paper, I'm going to give you 10 unconventional ways on how to work with your shadow, how to embrace your shadow, how to deal with it, right? The number one is dream reversal rituals. So essentially, if you have like these recurring dreams, these recurring nightmares, or recurring conversations that actually didn't happen, right? What you ought to do is to write them down and recreate them in a more beneficial light for you and your journey. I was going to say more positive, but you're intentionally rewriting it so that now when you're playing it or when you're occurring and having that dream or you're in the subconscious or unconscious state, you now have a new narrative. And that's typically how you deal with traumatic situations as well, because your perspective only sees it as one way, right? But there's other people that have other perspectives that you may not have listened to. So if you are replaying that trauma that you experienced and now you're writing it down because this is part of facing it, you're writing it down, but now you're rewriting it and recreating the narrative to it, which puts it in a more beneficial light for your growth and for your healing, then that allows you to shed some light on that shadow part of your experience, of your existence, of your character. Right? So this helps you to reclaim any repressed power that you may have had. And again, it helps you to reprogram or re-encode your subconscious psyche because it's the subconscious and unconscious that actually rule how you respond and how you react to certain things. All right. So that's number one. Rewrite your dreams, your nightmares, your constant daydreams or your thoughts. Rewrite them into a different narrative. Right. Number two, alter ego. So I know people have heard about, playing their alter ego, but literally your alter ego is the suppressed side of you. Your alter ego is the side of you that you dare not say in public or in front of those whom you love or on television or this, that, and for whatever reason. But that's a suppressed side of you. So if you actively play out that character, um, speak as they would speak, dress as they would dress, respond as they would respond, that's giving your shadow side an opportunity to play in the light, which helps you to have balance. All of us have multiple facets of our personality and our character. And it takes certain situations or certain people in order for us to be free to tap into those different sides of ourselves. They're no less a part of you than any other side of you. But when you get to play in those sides in the conscious arena, then you allow balance to come into your subconscious and unconscious arena to where it's not so oppressive anymore. Again, allowing you the ability to reclaim those sides of you to increase your balance and your power. So number two, again, playing in your alter ego. All right. Number three, he mentioned this slightly, that whole mirror thing. I was guilty of that too. The only time I'd look in the goddamn mirror is to do my own hair. And in that case, I had like 2 or 3 mirrors because I had to see the back of my head. But I never really used the mirror to actually look at myself and to look into my own eyes. So number 3 is mirror gazing. God damn it. Look into the windows of your own soul. And a lot of people that do affirmations, they make that suggestion. Do it in the mirror because you can't lie to yourself. And you'll notice if you try to lie to yourself, you can't even look yourself in the eye. You can't. It's going to be difficult. Or you'll look away. Or there's going to be some uncomfortable feeling. And that was a part of the I Am course that I had created when it comes to the self-acceptance. Standing in the mirror, in the nude, and fully embracing and accepting your complete vessel. Not just your face, but your complete vessel. But in this instance, we're dealing with shadow. So mirror gazing, looking yourself in the eyes and allowing any thoughts that come up to just come up. Write them down. Accept them. Don't judge them. But look yourself in the eye and say what you need to say to yourself. Good, bad, ugly, positive, say it. But be bold enough to look you in your eye and say what needs to be said. Because when you're doing that, you're tapping into something deeper. Right? Number 4. Radical gratitude for your triggers. So I mentioned triggers are a way to help you to see your shadow self. So instead of going off hinge and going off the deep end when you are triggered, give appreciation to whatever is triggering you, whether it be that person that's triggering you, whether it be that situation that's triggering you. Instead of allowing that trigger to incite certain reactions or responses, take a breath and say thank you. Because what that is doing is allowing you to see the parts of yourself that you have not dealt with, that you have suppressed, that you have refused to face. So when you're saying thank you, not only does that take power away from those external forces that are trying to trigger you back into a lower version of yourself, but it gives you more power to accept and embrace that, hey, I see you trying me. I see that myself has grown, and I appreciate and acknowledge you for supporting me in my growth. So when someone goes to piss you off on purpose, say, hey, thank you. Thank you for that energy. Thank you for that projection. Thank you for letting me see where I need to work on myself and accept these sides of myself. Whatever the situation may be, thank the universe. Thank you, universe, for bringing to me this situation to help me not only to see my weaknesses, but also to find my strength. So that's what you want to do when you're triggered. Shadow affirmations. So when we think about affirmations, everybody always talk about, oh, then this is number 5, mind you, shadow affirmations. Everybody talks about, talk about all the positive things because yes, what you speak, when you say I am, that's subconsciously programming your vessel to reflect those essential things. But when it comes to shadow affirmations, you want to say things like, hey, it's okay to be selfish. And it is okay to be selfish because you need to take care of yourself first, goddammit. I have cruel thoughts sometimes. That's just being honest with yourself. Yeah, you have cruel thoughts about chopping heads and slicing hands and blowing up shit. Yeah, it's okay to have those thoughts because suppressing them ain't going to help you. It's okay. And tell yourself, yeah, I do have those thoughts. Sometimes you might envy people, and that's a part of your human nature. Say it, goddammit. Don't say, oh, I ain't jelly. No, acknowledge the fact that you have envy. But also realize what that envy is giving you a mirror of something that you desire for yourself. It may not necessarily be you want to take it away from that other person. I mean, for some people it is because that's a different level of hate and envy. But the envy could be showing you something that you desire for yourself, for your life, for your experience, for your joy. So say, yes, I am envious of your success, not from a negative perspective, but from a perspective that I would like that for me. Draw on that in the positive light, but allow yourself to acknowledge your envy. Don't lie to yourself, because that's not helping you at all. If you're envy, say you're envy. So, and I'm pretty sure you could think of any other positive/negative affirmations or shadow affirmations, because your shadow is not necessarily negative. Some people may think it is because, they're on the outside looking in. But again, as we mentioned earlier, what's negative for you may be positive for somebody else, and what's positive for somebody else may be negative for you. So you can't judge based on somebody else's perspective. You have to trust your own inner guidance. But yeah, number 5, shadow affirmations. All right. Number 6, engage in the opposite behavior. We know how we typically react to shit, right? But if we make the conscious effort to react in a different way that we would not normally react, either to people or situations, that not only opens the door for new experiences, but it also enlightens you to different perspectives that you may have not been able to see before. And that is a difficult thing to do. And you can only probably do it in a safe space because, everybody ain't going to accept it. But see what emotions or revelations surface when you choose to react to something in a whole different manner than you would normally have reacted. Watch how the reflections respond to your new reaction. Watch the power dynamic and the energy exchange when you react differently than what you would have reacted before. Not just internally, but externally as well. And that's number 7. Number 6, I'm sorry. Engage in opposite behavior. Right? Number 7, shadow dance of movement. So, and Zoe can speak to this a lot. A lot of the times when we suppress ourselves, when we suppress emotions, when we suppress thoughts, it shows up as inflammation, um, shows up as arthritis, shows up as stiffness in joints and ligaments and muscles. And so to help you release that shadow of yourself on a physical level, it requires movement in whatever way you can. Remember back in the day when people used to crunk?
It still do. It's just not
That is not
not
as
shown in
popular,
the
but
front anymore.
that shit is powerful. And the reason they're not showing it because you've seen a lot of people when they were crunking. Remember, our spine is that information highway. That's the connection to source, connection to ancestors. And when we're moving it in such a manner, it fucking releases some shit. It releases anger. It releases pain. It releases joy. So when you're moving in an ugly or angry or chaotic manner, that's helping you to release that stiffness, that arthritis, that stuck energy that is in your vessel because of that suppressed shadow side of yourself. So move in those erratic, and one of the things I think, because I used to watch, I forgot what this TV show was, but Elaine, her name was Elaine. It was a Jewish sitcom, but her name was
I think
Elaine, and
so.
she would dance and she would move, and it would just be sporadic, just weird. But that's what I'm thinking of when you're moving like that. But
Yeah.
just move and help to release that energy out of your system and allow your shadow to be free. Number 8. There are, for those of you that use tarot and oracle cards, most of us use like the angelic ones, but there is a shadow spread. I got one from you. the shadow spread.
Uh-huh.
Use the dark oracle or the dark tarot cards. They're specifically geared towards shadow. And pick one of them bitches to see
Uh-huh.
what your spirit reveals to you. What is it that you're hiding? What is it that you're suppressing in your psyche that you refuse to allow to be seen once you tap into those dark tarot cards? And that'll help you to deal with some shit that you didn't think you were dealing with or that you didn't think was a part of you, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that shadow tarot deck, I don't have it with me handy because I'd show you guys it, but look for a shadow tarot deck or shadow oracle cards for those of you that dabble into that, because that'll help you to address those things that you may not know you're hiding, that you're suppressing or oppressing. Number 9 is dark art journaling. So, for those that are artists, you can draw in dark colors, the lower chakra colors like blacks and reds and browns and grays. Draw in those colors. Or if you're writing in your journal, write in red. Whatever comes up, speak words that you would not normally speak in public. Your unspoken truths. And don't judge yourself while you're writing it. This is the dark art journal, right? So you're writing all your dark thoughts, all your dark feelings, all your dark expressions. Write it in red ink and don't judge yourself for it. And number 10 would be conscious conflict. Essentially, what that means is engaging in like a debate or an argument so that you can let yourself express controversial thoughts that you may have had and just not have verbally articulated. So purposely engage in conversation or argument so that you can express your dark side. You can play devil's advocate. Yeah, you might get a hell of a response from it. But that's a way that you can let that dark side or that shadow side, and I keep saying the word dark, but that's a way that you can let that shadow side out. And you can let it go. Verbalize it will help to shed light on it. So again, those are the 10 ways that are unconventional ways that may not be talked about in the mainstream spiritual community on how to work with your shadow.
Perfectly said. Hopefully you wrote all of that down. If not, replay it as much as you need to. Pause. Do whatever you need to help you with that. Check out Thunderbolts. And,
Mm-hmm.
another, last thing about the movie is the asterisk, right? And the asterisk, after they figure out how to deal with the shadows, right? Spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
After they, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. After they figured out how to deal with the shadows and learn
Mm-hmm.
how to just create a clear, um, let go of, the asterisk came off, and the Thunderbolts end up becoming the new Avengers.
Avengers. Yeah.
The transformation you go through once you deal with yourself in that manner can birth
Mm-hmm.
a whole new light and a
Mm-hmm.
whole new you. It's the butterfly to the caterpillar. It's just the growth from the what is it, the where the frog become the tadpoles into the frog. It's the transformation. Is the asterisk. Do you keep the asterisk on who they want you to be? Because in the movie, the Thunderbolts, the reason they even brought the name Thunderbolts in the first place was a high school team that never won a goddamn thing. They were
Mm-hmm.
terrible. They
They
always
were the
lost.
underdogs.
They were the underdogs that is guaranteed to lose. But they came the new Avengers because they won against themselves,
Hmm.
to be who they are, authentically showing up in the way they always desired to show up, and then was recognized and created and eliminated the shadow that was consuming the world, that was consuming New York, consuming the buildings. It
Hmm.
started to be reflected of everybody showing up in smiles and gratitude.
Yep.
It's a very good movie of shadow work to watch. Of course, we didn't say everything, but enough was said to hopefully spark interest, hopefully apply to your journey along this
Hmm.
road of dealing with your shadows and learning how to transmute with the
Yeah.
10 steps, learning how to be, learning how to not be controlled. That's a
By
beautiful,
outside forces.
by
Okay.
outside
Because you got to
forces.
maintain your own control.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well,
You got to
that's what
maintain
I
your
mean.
own
Thank you for,
control, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Get maintain your
yeah.
own control and have control, but yeah, to not be controlled by outside forces or not be controlled by emotions or be controlled by
Mhm.
shadows. Because I was looking at it as a bigger picture, and of course I had to do that because we can try to control ourselves to suppress ourselves, right? So it's kind of like
Yeah.
what portion stays in control. We don't know at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
it's
Find that
it's
balance.
the balance of it all. So that's shadow work to go along with the, if you haven't seen emotions, because it's a big part of it,
Hmm.
that's damn near hand in hand in those shadows. You're gonna feel or you're gonna have emotions about them. And I think
Yep.
these two are great episodes to watch back to back. Emotions and shadows. And I think that can make a very, very strong impact of dealing with yourself firsthand with the tools, the 10
Hmm.
steps. And I think you'll find days, if you're dealing with that and you're having a tough time, days will, under
And
assumption,
and
but be
and just
brighter,
occur.
right?
Just a correction. They're not 10 steps. There are 10 ways that you can
Okay.
work
Yeah. 10
with
ways.
your shadow.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
everybody may not resonate with some of those methodologies, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So pick one that works with you and go with
Mhm.
it. If it
Yeah.
works,
I do all of them.
If it
Have a
doesn't,
tool set.
eh.
You're building your your
Yeah.
your Batman utility belt, so figure out what works with you. Just another little nugget. There's nothing, another little thing that not little because it's not little, but another something to sit with, right? And make sure you
Yeah, I
share
think
it for
the
somebody else that's having a tough time. Make sure you spread this, spread that
yeah,
out to help as many as you can, because today, May 29th, 2025, we can all use it. We can
yeah.
really use it right now.
You
Everything
need
is
to
being challenged.
get back to
And
self.
get back
Get
to
back to
self.
you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%
So
peony.
embrace that shadow. Your shadow. You. All parts of you. That's what we're here to encourage you to do. Is to be the greatest version of you that you can be. And
Absolutely.
just simply be.
Simply be a balanced peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Mmm.
You can have too
I
much
like crunchy
jelly
peanut butter.
and say
Why don't
crunchy.
they
See,
make
those
crunchy
variables.
honey peanut butter?
And of course, they're not
Honey
gonna do this.
crunchy
Too
peanut
delicious.
butter.
Too delicious.
To
They gotta
make
have
my
some
own,
type of
goddamn it.
control
I'm
now.
gonna get
Yeah,
some
that's it.
crunchy butter and then put the honey in it, and then I'm gonna be good.
They got to
Hmm.
figure out something,
Yeah.
goddamn it. So, but yeah. Thank y'all for listening. Is there anything else we should add in this anything else? Any other thoughts? Any other
Nope.
thoughts? No?
Just just be aware that when you're working on your shadow, you're gonna get triggered even more so than you were before, and you're gonna get people trying to pull you back or situations trying to pull you back to the old you. Just keep going.
Keep
Because that's how
going.
you know you're on the right track. Just keep going. It may look fucking crazy in your outside world, but you keep going.
Hmm. And eventually you'll come across some that's helping you move forward and helping you give them the strength. So it's a balance there too. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's all good. We appreciate you watching.
Thank
100%.
you
Another
again.
episode 6. Like,
Yes.
comment, subscribe, share, you know,
Hmm.
and
You
we
better
look
share it,
forward.
God damn it. Don't be selfish.
Right? Selfish asses. Well, no, I'm not gonna say that. It is what it is. But
No, but
we
a
we
lot of people
definitely
are
enjoy it.
waking
We
up
love y'all.
around the world. So
Yeah,
as
we
much as we can support, with other, spiritual people out there that are supporting people on their journey too, we're just a part of that whole team.
that's it.
Star seeds, galactic beings
Hmm.
for the
In a
ascension of
new way,
everyone.
in a new way, we are the honey peanut butter crunch, right?
Oh,
That's the way
I'll
to look
take
at it.
that.
Because I'm
Okay.
peanut butter, and no, I'm not gonna.
What you
I'm
gonna
not gonna
say?
nothing.
You can say I'm chocolate, so we can have chocolate honey peanut butter crunch. How about that? Okay,
Yeah, well,
yeah. There
you
you
was gonna be, I was gonna say, honey. Well, okay. Well, I just stand
go.
in
Yeah,
agreement.
just yeah.
I just stand in agreement. It is what it is,
It
So
is what it is.
definitely hope y'all enjoyed this. Check out the
Thank you for
Thunderbolts.
watching.
We're not, promoted or anything like that. We just think it's a
Yeah,
good
they
movie
ain't
to
giving us
talk
no
about.
goddamn money.
They ain't getting no
Yeah.
money for that. Just check it out on a spiritual perspective standpoint. That's why it was triggered. And we may do some more movies. We watched Tron too, so look out. We may
Mm,
have an episode about that. We may not. Let us know what y'all think. But appreciate y'all
yes.
watching. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. Like we
Hmm.
said 48 times. But until next time, peace.
Peace.